Bom dia, students.
No, but you can talk to them, I think. There might be no very big problems.
So, this is my second time in coming to your school. Did I meet anyone before when I came in October? One, yes.
Two, and the other one.
Okay, great, good. Okay, and so I'm back to talk about 3 or 4 things with you. One thing that I want to talk to you about is that, you know, I'm from the USA, right? And in the USA, in the United States, I'm a professor at a university, and I teach about cross-cultural education to college students and how to become teachers.
Okay.
And so my hope is that I can develop an exchange program that will bring my college students to do student teaching here with your teachers in the next year or so. So some of you may be graduating, and that's okay. The other reason why I'm here is I want you to think about maybe going to a university in the United States. And so if you have interest in that, then make sure that you let me know.
Ok, Karen. Gente, eles estão ali para falar mais sobre 4 pontos. Primeiro, falar sobre o intercâmbio, de trazer professores de lá para fazer intercâmbio a professores dali, ok? Os outros sabem, ele dá essas informações. Ele é de Merkel, ele é professora de universidade, ok? Ele quer fazer um intercâmbio, ok? Entre professores dali e professores de lá, e também se besouro, algum de besouro tem interessado na base estudar nos Estados Unidos. Besouro de Charles sabe, ok? Se for. Para estudar na universidade, ok? Ok.
And so to let you know a little bit about myself, I am American Cape Verdean, and my family on my mother's side come from Fogo.
Fogo, c'est família. Okay.
However, when my family came to the U.S., my grandmother and grandfather lost all of their children. They had to be adopted into families that only spoke English. So I have not learned my language from here because of that.
No problem.
You got me? Okay.
Yes.
All right, good. So this is why I'm very interested in coming back and establishing my family's roots here again. I'm applying for my citizenship beginning tomorrow in Praia. And it was a request of my mother when she was dying. She said, please go home and find our family and establish roots for our family again.
No problems.
Okay, you got it. Okay. All
Não,
right.
entenderam tudo? Sim? Certeza? Hã? Não entendeste, Dade? Então, falar de suas origens, seus avós, que vêm de Fogo, não é? Agora ele queria recuperar, ele te pedir nacionalidade cabo-verdiana, que começa aquele processo, já começa amanhã na praia, ele é de Fogo, gente é de Fogo, e antes de mãe morrer, ele pediu que era para eles fazer essa pesquisa, não é? De procurar suas origens e de recuperar tudo a nível de língua, cultura, e ele quer te falar crioulo, para modo foi adotado, seu irmão foi adotado em várias famílias americanas, ele está a falar só inglês, por isso que ele quer te falar crioulo, ok?
And so when my grandfather came to the United States, he settled in Massachusetts. Massachusetts probably has the most Cape Verdean people that have settled there. Many parts of, other states in the United States.
If you say Boston, they will
Boston.
understand. Yes.
Boston. So I grew up in Boston, okay? And many other cities in the U.S. don't even know where Cape Verde is, who Cape Verdeans are. We're just now beginning to spread out in more and more states in America. But Massachusetts has probably the largest population of Cape Verdeans there.
Vocês entenderam?
Okay.
Yes? Okay.
And so I went to school in Boston. I taught at a agency called the Cape Verdean House, and it was a place where teenagers were just coming from Cape Verde and were trying to learn to speak English and to get familiar with the culture of America. You're with me still?
Okay?
Okay.
No problem.
And at that time, I noticed that many of the Cape Verdean students were having problems in schools because of the language barrier and also because their teachers and other students didn't know about their culture and they didn't appreciate them very much. And so because of that, many Cape Verdean students, they dropped out of school. They didn't finish high school. And lots of them got into a lot of trouble. Many of them were arrested, and many of them sit in jails today because of not being connected with.
Você conseguiu entender? Certeza?
And so I am committed to change that for students. I want to be able to see Cape Verdean students when they come to the U.S. to have a good experience, to keep their culture, keep their language, but also learn the language of the United States, which is English. Most of you are English students, right? English as second language?
Here in Cape Verde?
No, in your class.
Yeah, foreign language.
Right, okay. You
No,
do,
foreign language.
Foreign languages,
Yes.
right, good.
Here we have Creole, we have Portuguese as a second
Creole.
language, yeah, and we have French and English as a foreign language.
Yeah, that is excellent. In the
Yeah,
U.S.,
but the conditions of the English teaching is not.
it's not as
yeah,
good.
Yeah.
So when we can bring student teachers maybe to help with that, that would be
Yeah,
a
that
good
would be
thing,
good,
right?
and some materials too.
Right.
Yeah, we need that. We have
Yes.
a kind of lack of a lot of materials.
Yes, which would be very good. I thought that one thing you might be interested in is we have a school in Amherst, which is close to Boston, and there are students that have just come from São Vicente, from Praia, and they're in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I have a friend who's a teacher there, and she said, Karen, when you visit Pinto High School, would you find out if there are students that would like to become pen pals to our students here? Because they're very lonely, they miss home here.
Can I? Ele te falar sobre de um liceu que tem perto de Boston, que tem cheio alunos de Cabo Verde, São Vicente, de Praia. Então, daqueles professores perguntar-lhe se quando ele vem para São Vicente ou para Praia, ele podia achar alunos interessados em ser pen pals. Pen pals é um amigo por correspondência, ok? Eu estava para fazer as amizades dali e lá, porque aqui os meninos sentem sós, sentem saudades, sentem falta, né? De estar conectado com a pessoa que está ali, ok? Se ele podia, se os outros quiserem, depois, noutra maneira, ok? Ok.
And so I brought their teacher's email address, and I'll share it with your teachers, and anyone interested in becoming pen pal. You're a little older than them. You're in the 11th and the 12th grade.
Yeah, 12th.
Right? 12th grade.
Yeah.
So they need wisdom from you because you're older on how to manage there. How do they stay connected to their homeland? And they have lots of questions on how to make life better for them while they're there. the reason why they come, students come from Cape Verde many times, is because their parents want them to get a better education in English. And so many of their parents are still here, and they're there without their parents. And so it's very lonely for them,
Yeah.
right?
Eles alunos do oitavo, ok? Sétimo, oitavo, porque que isto está bem? Porque pais geralmente ficais de mandares para estudar porque eles querem que os filhos tenham uma educação melhor, não é? Mas isso também te causa aquela saudade, tudo que ele falta desses pais, não é? Porque eles estão muito longe de família, longe da terra, ok? Então seria bom para eles e para os outros. Os outros, como os outros já é mais velhos que eles, lhes dás conselho, ok? Não tudo o que eles precisar e também aprender um pouquinho sobre o que eles viver lá. Okay.
And so, as a professor, I said I train students to become teachers. And because I used to teach in high school for a very long time, and then I became a teacher of teacher education, I see what goes on in our high schools that are challenging to many of our students.
Olha, te falar de... Os outros entender? Não? Até. Agora ela é professora da universidade, não é? Mas antes ela foi professora de liceu, ok? Por um bom tempo. Então ele sabia direitinho, né? Tudo que ele, maneira que funciona. E agora ele te ensinar para professores. Ele te ensinar outros professores. Ele te formar professores, ok?
And so my background is not only Cape Verdean. My father is African American. And does everyone know African American culture? Because it links to Cape Verdean culture. Cape Verde is considered Little Africa, right?
Yeah.
And so hundreds of years ago, a little more than 400 years ago, African people were forced out of Africa, put into chains, put into slavery, and made to go to all the different islands through the diaspora, Haiti, Cuba, Cape Verde, on to South America and Brazil, and in America, US, North America. And so these African people we now call African American because they've been there for generations.
Ok? Afro-American, aqueles termos como é que se diz? Os americanos descendentes, não é, dos negros, ok? Afro-americanos, exatamente. Então, já sabem toda a história, né? Dos africanos foram tirados e levados, né, para trabalharem como escravos, etc.
And so they were forced to work without any money for hundreds of years, beaten and discriminated against, and even today there's what we call racism in America. You know racism? Racism means what? Discriminating against. Right. Especially from your culture. So if you're African American and Native American, many people of color in the U.S. don't have the same rights just because of the color of their skin. And the system means that if you keep someone down, as long as you can keep someone down and you make them be second class, then you have power over them. You keep them down from making more money, you keep them down from getting education, you keep them down from living in good homes, you keep them down from many, many things. So that still happens in the U.S.
Vocês entendem? O que acontece ainda nos Estados Unidos, por causa do racismo, ainda tem, exatamente, isto rebaixa pessoas para pôr como segunda classe, não é, de cidadãos de segunda classe, para eles poderem sentir lá de cima e com isso, não é, dominar completamente, a nível de tudo, de educação, de saúde, de tudo, ok? E isso ainda de acontecer, nem acontecer lá atrás, ainda cabo-verdianos enfrentar o seu problema também. e ela querer fazer exatamente o contrário, né? Querer fazer sentir que a verdiana que também sentiu um bocadinho aconchegado, desdage, não é? Na integração lá na sociedade norte-americana, de maneira que isto mantesse a cultura também, ok? Culturas e tradições. Okay.
And so in many of the high schools, they don't have books that talk about African American culture, Cape Verdean culture. Most of the books are what we call Eurocentric. They're from white experiences. And so as a writer, professor, I now write books where children can see themselves in the things they learn, right? And so this book is called Divine and Promise, and it's written for secondary, your level. And I wrote this book asking secondary students, what do you want in a book? What do you want to read? When you pull from the shelf in the library, what do you want to read? And they said, we want real life stories about us, okay? And sometimes, now I work in a lot of the schools that are called inner city schools. That means they're in poorer communities and the schools don't have many resources.
Ok. Então ele fala de esses livros e ele te ensinar ligado a comunidades, não é? Que as comunidades mais pobres, que escolas que têm muito recursos, isto tem falta de livro. Então, de que os motivos é que leva a escrever esse livro, que quando ele pergunta a alunos, modo as outras escolas secundárias, o que estava a gostar de ler num livro, quando espanha um livro na biblioteca, o que escreveu? Então, quis mesmo responder vida real sobre estes, não é? Coisas relacionadas a essas vidas, a esses dia a dia. Então, ele escreveu esse livro assim. Okay, Divine and Promise.
Divine and Promise. So they are twins.
And
they were born to parents who were teenagers. And that happens a lot. We call it teenage pregnancy, where, where babies are having babies, they say.
We have this problem
in
our school.
And so this book talks about they tell this story. And it's fiction, it's not a real story, but it's over 100 students that have told stories that I made into one story. Okay?
Esse livro está a falar de Divine and Promise, os gêmeos, nascidos de mãe adolescente, ok? Então ali ele está a tratar também aquele problema de gravidez na adolescência, gravidez precoce, exatamente.
So they're 17 years old, and they're talking about their mother and father being teenage parents and trying to work hard. Their parents work many jobs. They're trying to go back to school so that they can save to buy them a home. Because right now they all live with their grandparents in a very small 2-room house. And they're trying to make it through.
Falar desde menino tu conta a história, né, de seus pais, maneira que é ser pais, não é, adolescentes. Dás tudo o que eles precisam, juntar dinheiro, que isto tem um caso no futuro, que a grinha se morar naqueles casa pequenininho, que bairro social, ok? As casinhas lá. Então é complicado, né? We have here some examples of teen mothers, yeah.
And so the parents save up money to buy a small house, and on the way to the bank with their children, robbers come and steal the money. They kill the father in front of the children. And a lot of other things begin to happen in the story.
Is that the Yeah.
And this was a true story from a young man. He was only 10 years old, and he told me how he lost his father that way. So again, throughout the book, so I work in schools in Oakland, California, Los Angeles, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Boston schools, and there's a lot of, we've had gangs where young people kill each other.
Yeah, we have here too in São Vicente, this
so
problem, and in Praia also.
And so now in Boston, many of our Cape Verdean students are becoming members of gangs too, because they don't feel good in school. Okay? So we're trying to stop all that by educating, but making books that you like, that you can relate to,
But
that you can learn from.
The problem is they don't like to read.
That's the problem of U.S. So I
That's
said,
the problem as in U.S. as well, you know?
so I said to students, if I write a book, if I write books that you're interested in, will you read the books? And they said, yes, but make the book small, like that.
Pictures.
Make big type words in the book, and make it so that it's really juicy, right? And so this tells a lot of, it talks about girls, and it talks about the young girls and young boys dating, and then they get jealous, and they get all these things. It's a basketball player. I mean, it's all things that are interesting. So students that have read this book, they always write and tell me how they like the book. Can you make more books like this? And we'll read more books, right? So I brought you a few books so you can try out to read together.
Ele traz-vos alguns livros, ok? Você pode tentar a ler e depois dar feedback, ok? Hã? Ele traz-vos outros. Não, claro, agora vou-te organizar. Quer dizer, livro é coisas interessantes, que ele perguntar aqui sobre o que está a gostar de ler, ele fazer livro que está a gostar de ler, mas dizer logo, livro pequenininho, letras grandes, né? Okay? É que falar de vidas, falar de namoros, não é? De ciúmes, tudo em esse universo dos outros.
And so since you're working on your English, it might be good to have the book, but we do acting of the book. So let me show you an example. Anyone likes to read English? Anyone wants to read English book? Shy? Okay, come, because I need you. Come on, you're going to be in my character. So we only have quick time, so I'm going to have you up and come with us.
Crele? Crele?
And he can bring his chair. Oh, there's a chair. Okay. And I'm going to give you one, too. Okay. So turn to page 1.
Page 1.
Page 1.
Chapter 1.
Okay. So you're going to be Karima.
Me?
Right. She's the young teenage mother of the twins, right? So this is telling the story back.
Karima.
And then you are going to be Clarence. Page 1.
Boy Clarence, page 1.
And I'm going to
Karima
be...
is here. Where is Clarence?
So wherever you see quotations, you're going to read that. So I'm going to be the narrator, right? And so here we go. I'll be Divine and Promise.
Clarence.
Divine is the girl, Promise is the boy. And I'm telling my parents' story. So,
yeah, Karima.
our mom's name was Karima, and our dad's name was Clarence. Mom and Dad shared stories with us about their teenage years and how they decided to have us while they were still so young. It is important for us to start out with our parents' story because the decisions they made brought us into being. They struggled and they made a lot of sacrifices, and we owe everything to our parents. Picture them back in the day. They're in high school. Our dad was a star on the basketball team, or we could say soccer team. And our mom was a very smart academic excellence ambassador for her school. She studied all the time. Dad used to say that she was so bossy. You know bossy? You do this, you do that. That's bossy, right?
Alguém que gosta de dar ordem. Okay.
And that is all it took for them to start blasting from the past. They would go on and on thinking aloud about the ways that things happen. The time then became alive for us. Karima says in a bossy attitude,
Clarence, I know you hear me calling you.
and Clarence rebels.
Yeah, Karima, I read your willing my name always. I can talk you now.
Now.
Now. I'm late for practice and coach
Coach.
will sit me off for tonight game. Do you want your
Guy.
circle today
Bench.
because of you?
Still holding on to her attitude, Karima replies,
That would be better than seeing him sitting with Mrs. D Chickenhead trying to get with you.
Karim's hardly helper. I've got to go to Karima.
Have to go.
and then Karima says,
Come on, this is
Next
Karima's
page.
answer. Yeah.
go on, Mr.
Go
B.
on, Mr. Big Time Basketball Star, and don't expect me to help you with your homework later.
Okay, so when you read the story, you can act it out together when you're reading it, and that'll help everyone to practice reading what's going on. So it gets pretty funny. Now, Miss D is the girl that likes him too, that likes Karima's boyfriend Clarence, and so they get into a big fight about it. And so the book is real life, but it also teaches about vocabulary for your English test, and it asks you questions about the book. It says, why did Karima, the questions at the end of the chapter each say, well, why did Karima and Clarence have the twins so early? Why did they have teenage pregnancy? And then you talk about that amongst yourselves, okay? So what I want to do is I want to leave a few of these books, and I'm also going to give the books to the middle schoolers in Boston. And if you pen pal, you can tell them what you think about the book, and they can tell you what they think about the book. And I hope that's going to encourage you and them to read more. Is that okay? Okay. So you promise you're going to read the book?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a good one. How much time do we have? Because I might have one more I want to introduce to. So we're going to award these books to
time do we have?
three students that will take charge of making sure
Okay.
they practice and read. So you decide.
Okay.
Okay, one last book. And this book is this one's easier to read, and you can practice together. This book is about something different. Remember I said that many young people are going to jail, going to prison in the U.S., and many of them, we call it mass incarceration. And what that means is they target, that's our bell?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we won't get to this book. I'm going to leave it and talk with your teachers about how to use this book to talk about issues on why so many young black people, men especially, are being put in prisons for a long time. And this is a young man who's in prison who is telling his story. And he's only in his 20s. Okay? So these are the books we want you to start reading, to be interested in reading more, because if you don't read, you're not going to be able to become all of the things that you want to be. How many of you want to be doctors? Any doctors?
No.
Any teachers? Anybody want to be teachers? What do you want to be? Things you want to do.
Priest here.
A priest.
Yeah.
What else? So you're in the 12th grade. You need to stop thinking. How many of you want to go to college, to university? Anyone
Quem
want to
quer
go
vá
to
para a
college?
universidade, o
Put
que é
your
que os outros
hands up.
crescer.
Okay. Next time I visit, I want to see more hands up. Okay? How many of you want to travel the world to see what the world offers?
Quem quer viajar do mundo, é o que o mundo
your
tem
hands up.
a oferecer.
Then you need to know how to read.
Exactly.
Okay? Okay. All right. I love you. I'll be back.